The FBI raided his homes almost 4 months ago, but the aftershocks are still being felt to this day. Now, the rapper's faced a ton of new allegations. And of course, y'all can't forget the surveillance footage from that hotel.
What do you make of the idea that they're bringing in people who say he sexually assaulted me, he abused me to a grand jury, in terms of what that can mean for an indictment?
Well, look, this is no surprise. I'm very cynical about what's happened here. I'm cynical that all of a sudden there was this kind of shock and awe search warrant raid, which literally was out of nowhere. Then I'm very cynical that somehow a surveillance tape in a hotel that had never come to pass for 8 years gets released sometime after that raid. Then I'm very cynical, and by the way, I know the other author of that article in the Rolling Stone, Nancy Dillon. I've known her for many years in her previous incarnations, but you then see that there is this story that comes out, and by the way, in between, there were several more leaks to CNN. The cynic in me says, why? And what is the one connected fiber of all of this is Homeland Security. Why would Homeland Security be leaking all of this stuff? Because either their witnesses are not telling them what they want to hear, call me a cynic, or they want to make sure that they destroy any chance of Diddy getting a fair trial, make sure that they make him a persona non grata so that he doesn't have a constituency or a demographic that would push back. So I readily admit I'm a defense lawyer, and that's the way I think. I readily admit that I've represented Sean for many years, but I will tell you this, Sean's organization is hardly a RICO organization. I have dealt with them on and off for over a decade. It is a multi-billion-dollar operation that is run with some people who are very talented, who have wonderful backgrounds, and are hardly running a RICO operation.
Now, if y'all check in with one of Diddy's ex-lawyers, it seems the authorities are gradually releasing the evidence they gathered on Diddy to the public, kicking off with a surveillance tape. So the real question is, why now? It appears they want to ensure that the whole world gets a clear picture of who he is before he steps into the courtroom.
Trying to look inwards to how women are treated, and I'm talking specifically about the latest about Sean Diddy Coombs. You were on his last album. Are you also feeling that the idea of the abuse of women, domestic partner abuse, it needs to be really handled once and for all and not swept under the carpet as it has been for so long? Let's just say in your industry.
Oh, well, I was horrified by the allegations that I heard about Mr. Combs, and of course horrified by the video evidence that was released after that. But I was horrified by the descriptions that I read before the video evidence came out, and absolutely is something that needs to be brought to light when it happens. And my default stance is to believe women when they make these accusations, and to make sure that we do whatever we can to support women who are making these allegations, and make sure that they're heard, and that any kind of accountability and reparations can be made to make these women whole again. It's shameful what Mr. Combs has been accused of, and I only want the best for Cassie, but also for all the other victims that have alleged that he's abused them. It's really tough to see those descriptions and to see those videos. It's quite a shame, and I really just want accountability and hopefully some healing for all of his victims.
In the aftermath, tons of folks have stepped forward to speak about Diddy, expressing solidarity with all the individuals he's mistreated throughout his career.
Puff's behavior, sadly, is not novel. It's not new.
Right.
It's just incredibly awful and egregious. I wish that there were ways to actually try to hold him accountable that don't just involve suing for money. We've seen the video. What he apologized for was the video.
Correct.
Right? Nothing else. Just the video.
He basically just provided context. He said he hit rock bottom.
I hit rock bottom.
What does that mean?
Well, the rock bottom is when you hook somebody's arm up,
Right.
and then you guys go up
That's right.
together, it usually
correct.
precedes the people's elbow.
And D's half-hearted apology has only fueled the fire. Now people truly see him for the criminal he is, realizing he shows no remorse for his actions. The public isn't holding back anymore, calling him out on his insincere apology that conspicuously left out any mention of Cassie.
Jaden Smith took to Instagram to share a series of images of him inside of Diddy's tunnels. Underneath Diddy's mansion in Los Angeles and Miami, there are secret tunnels. Originally, it was built as sort of like an underground swimming pool, but Diddy drained it and began to create a network of pathways that connect to nearby points of interest. For example, one of the tunnels connects to Hugh Hefner's mansion nearby. But what's crazier is that he is literally using them to traffic kids for his FO parties. People say he would grab young girls and boys from the street using his sons as bait. Then these people would use the network of tunnels to transport these children unnoticed away from the prying eyes of paparazzi and the public. Jaden also leaked an image of the plans to build more.
But let's just say his partners weren't the only ones suffering under his influence. Turns out, the diddler had a penchant for young artists, almost too young. Two of these young talents were Jaden Smith and Justin Bieber, who aren't afraid to come forward about Diddy's dark secrets.
What do he need underground tunnels for? Is he preparing for doomsday? Or is he trafficking something through those tunnels? Is he traveling through those tunnels? Where do those tunnels lead to?
Very good question, Hassan Campbell. Very good question indeed. As journalists and bloggers dug deeper into these mysteries, they began to unearth some hidden truths and age-old community secrets, sparking speculation about their origins and possible links to other notable estates. For instance, the discovery of tunnels beneath P. Diddy's mansion recalls similar underground networks found beneath other historic estates, like the Playboy Mansion, which is just an 8-minute walk from Diddy's residence. It's entirely feasible that these tunnels are interconnected, serving as a covert transportation network for the rich and famous. Between the raids at Diddy's house and Jaden Smith's accusations, a whole new discussion has emerged about the methods Diddy used to perpetrate his egregious offenses. Considering that the Playboy Mansion, also reported to have extensive underground tunnels, is so close to Diddy's home, the pieces start to fall into place, just a bit more convincingly.
Not hysterical, not frantic, not anxious, not fretful, but steady in the storm. Looks bad, looks tough, but remain steady in the storm.
Now, the fact that after the raids, Diddy posted a video on social media showing a tunnel-like system with TD Jakes narrating in the background. I mean, was that really a coincidence? After all the news about these underground tunnels beneath the property started surfacing, or was that more of an admission? Not to mention, Justin Bieber was seen at those wild parties Diddy used to throw, where the debauchery knew no bounds. Allegedly, Diddy would get Justin drugged and drunk, then pass him around for all his friends to take advantage.
Just like it wasn't seminal fluid that Justin Bieber was wiping away from his mouth when he brought his face up from Odell Beckham's groin in a club with Trey Songz on the lookout.
The images are there.
Diddy-fied. Hashtag no Diddy.
Hashtag no Diddy.
Now, the only mainstream celebrity who has actually spoken up about all this is Jaguar Wright. She has come forward and discussed how Diddy toyed with Justin's life, ruining his career under the guise of mentoring him.
You said Justin Bieber, and I have to ask you because he just has, there's a picture circulating online where they show
He's
Justin.
the new Tevin Campbell.
Yeah, they show him crying. You're almost giving him a gateway to speak his truth of what happened.
I wish Tevin Campbell would speak to him or for him. Because the same thing that they did to him, they're doing to Bieber right now. And I have evidence That poor kid. And all because he got discovered by Usher. And then Usher took him right over there to the diddler. And let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll.
The last freak off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake.
Now, she also talked about how we need to be pointing fingers at Usher, who was abused by Diddy himself, but still didn't hesitate to offer Justin Bieber up to the diddler as well, ensuring that the cycle of abuse would just continue.
Now, another thing that, of course, you spoke on last time was, and at the time it happened, was a slap by Will Smith to Chris Rock. We spoke on it. But since then, Jada Pinkett has written a book where she reveals that multiple times she tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Not saying exactly what the reason was.
I don't know why she keeps trying. She just get it done. Don't be bad at everything.
Shit. Yeah.
You was an all right actress. You was a terrible wife. You was a bad mother. You was a kid who knew that your husband was doing things to boys and did stuff to your son, and you ain't do shit about it. Bilal told me everything.
Their good friend who
Bilal told me, Jaden. He told me that you knew Will was f***ing your child. Yes, he did. Wonder why he left that out of his Tasha K interview.
Yeah, in that interview, he said a lot. He said a lot.
He said everything but the thing that was important. That he know that Will Smith raped Jaden. He raped Bashir and he raped Neat Mills, and you know it, Bilal. Now I don't give no how far in the desert you run. You'll go from a Philly nigga to a sand, they'll still get you.
And not just that, she has also gone on record to discuss how Jaden Smith was abused by his own father while Jada watched and just let it all happen. When it started to become too much for her to handle, she shipped him off to Diddy to deal with.
Will Smith and Diddy destroyed this young singer's career, and some are saying they R-worded him like they allegedly did to Justin Bieber and Usher. So Bryshire Gray is an American actor and rapper who suddenly disappeared from the spotlight and dropped some major hints it had to do with Diddy and Will Smith's mentorship. He is now suing them both over his experience, and because many people say he was allegedly R-worded by the duo, Bryshire started to act out in disturbing ways, similar to how Justin Bieber did. On July 13th, 2020, Gray was arrested by police following an alleged DV incident with his wife. Then in May 24, 2021, he spent time in prison for allegedly putting his paws on her. So Jaguar Wright said she witnessed young boys run from Diddy's house screaming from these mentorships.
Now, then again, Will Smith and Diddy have repeatedly subjected younger stars to abuse, as if it's some twisted game they delight in playing over and over. And honestly, Val can see that Diddy has damaged Justin and Jaden Smith beyond repair. He's introduced them to a life filled with sex and drugs, and these two young artists have found it difficult to escape that lifestyle.
I decided to stop because I felt like I was dying. My security and stuff were coming into the room at night to check my pulse. Like, people don't know how serious it got. Like, it was legit crazy scary. I was waking up in the morning and the first thing I was doing is popping pills and smoking a blunt and starting my day. You know, so it just got scary. I basically said to myself, oh my God, if you're real, you get me through this season of stopping these pills and stuff, and if you do, I'll do the rest of the work. And then I did that, and then I was good from there, but I never did the actual work. I got off the pills, but I never went to the root of everything. So then I just like kind of circle back around, which most people do.
Now, Justin has also recently opened up about how severe the situation was. And while he's never directly blamed Diddy, everyone knows who introduced the Biebs to all that nastiness. And of course, Jaden Smith seems to have followed the same path, where his drug use eventually got the best of him too.
When we said we wanted to bring him to the table, I was like, well, what do you want to talk about? He said, mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
The magic kind, of course.
Yeah.
Jaden Smith joins his mom, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Grandma Adrienne Banfield Norris on Red Table Talk. And they're discussing magic mushrooms, folks.
But since it's my mom, it's like, it's my mom. We're working together.
On the latest episode of the Facebook Watch series, the fam talks about the plant medicine that some say is a miracle treatment for mental health.
I was introduced to plant medicine 10 years ago to deal with my depression, and it knocked it out.
Something Jada says she can speak to from personal experience.
What it does, unlike just going to therapy and putting people on Prozac, right, which I did that too, which that is not successful for so many people. And that's the thing. So for me, I had struggled with depression for so long. Crippling depression. So the thing about the plant medicine is that not only does it help you feel better, but it helps you solve the problems of how you got there in the first place.
It started as pure curiosity.
Yeah. The 23-year-old added that he started using the drugs out of curiosity, and doing so led to his understanding of what ego was for the first time.
It was always in my head talking, telling me what I was and what I wasn't. And for the first time, I had like a ego dissolution where I was like, that was the moment that really changed me. You get to a place in your life where you're blocked by something, whether it's a trauma, whether it's your emotions, your ego, not being able to express yourself. And then I feel like psychedelics are a way to tear down that wall and see what's beyond it. Doing it guided with people that are professionals, I feel like really increases the chances of having that mystical experience.
And check this out. Jaden's mom was fully aware that her son was abusing psychedelics all along, but rather than seeking help for him, she turned it into a joke on her show.
On the video that Puff had ran into Justin Bieber, and he started tapping him as if he was searching him and see if he had some kind of device on. Check this out. What if the federal government have already talked to Justin Bieber and Diddy did that on tape? That means in his mind, he think this person may be a witness. What he has just done that is against the law, tampering with a federal witness. If they have already talked to Justin Bieber prior to him doing that, he goes and look like he's searching him. It appears that he's asking Justin Bieber, yo, you got a wire or something like that? Like, you're tampering with a federal witness. That's a charge right there that can land him in jail.
Now, according to Gandil, Justin Bieber might play a significant role in the lawsuit against Diddy. In fact, Diddy suspected Justin of being a key witness in his case, which is why he was once caught on camera checking Justin for any kind of recording devices.
When I used to see him swing, it was always with him, another dude, and two girls. Was swinging with other people, you know what I'm saying? He always had other girls in the room or another guy in the room. When he was in the room with Sarah and her girlfriend, and he had Ja Rule and him in the room. So they was doing anything freaky until Ja came out and said, yo, y'all didn't want to be in there because there's a lot of freaky things going on. Top in the game, in the music business. And they had said to me, yo, I had to suck a lot of to get to this position. But he was an individual that preyed on this young girl.
But it wasn't just Justin and Jaden. Turns out, Diddy often swung the other way quite frequently. Now some of the people closest to him have witnessed Diddy engaging in sexual activities with multiple men and recording the whole thing during his wild parties.
I didn't think I was going to ever see a video like this.
I heard abuse whispers. So
Really?
I was thinking, yeah.
I heard gay. I'd never heard porn.
I always heard gay.
Gay nonstop. And that was enough. People were like...
That's because of Wendy Williams.
What'd you say?
Oh, that was Wendy. Wendy's whole thing was Diddy was gay since the 90s.
She knew, dog.
No, Wendy was
We owe
throwing that
Wendy
out
an
there.
apology.
That's why Wendy got fired from Hot 97. Wendy got fired from Hot 97 by Diddy because that's when Bad Boy was smoking hot.
Wow.
And yeah, she got fired for putting that out there. Like,
Do you think that Diddy held on to the gay rumors so that people didn't know what he really was?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because that's the perfect smokescreen. You'd rather people think you're gay than beat women.
By the way, here's the wild thing. We still don't know what Diddy is.
I mean, we
That's
know
the thing.
little.
We know little. We know bits and pieces.
Yeah.
This shit might be deeper than rap. We don't know. Like, this
The
might be a
rabbit hole's
whole
gonna get
rabbit
crazy.
hole. You might be like, oh shit.
But
seeing this. That's what I was trying to get at this whole time.
Okay, so-
That is the wildest story that came out of a lot of this.
But anytime anyone tried to call him out for hiding his sexuality, Diddy made sure they were silenced permanently. Don't believe it? Just look at what happened to Wendy Williams.
What's interesting is that when I was doing research on this and was looking at the footage the day after the raids at the house, one of the neighbors was driving by and he was yelling at the people who were like video recording. He was like, they have kids come here, like busloads of kids, like underage kids every night. And he was like yelling at the cameras like, I see this as their neighbor all the time. They have underage kids like coming by the busload every night. And then I heard somebody say in another video, they were like, oh yeah, it was just a civilian who was like, oh yeah, Hugh Hefner's house is right next door. And then a light bulb went off in my mind and I was like, oh shit, that's fucking crazy. Because you know who else was doing a huge sexual blackmail operation from the 60s onward? Was Hugh fucking Hefner, the Playboy guy. He would have these giant parties with celebrities and politicians and athletes and all these people coming over to his house doing a shitload of drugs with a shitload of like the world's most beautiful women. And then he would invite them to his room where he would sit and film them all having drug-fueled orgies, sometimes like with prostitutes off the street, with animals. And he was filming this all, and he had a huge closet in his house filled with tapes.
Considering all this, people can't help but notice how similar Diddy's crimes are to those of people like Hugh Hefner, Epstein, and Weinstein. Could it be that this old sex ring Diddy was running was part of a larger operation? It sure looks that way. You won't see Puffy flying standby. He takes his Gulfstream jet. When Diddy flies, he brings his friends along. He called me once. I was in the middle of a meeting. He's like, don't say anything out loud, but at 6 o'clock you're getting on a plane. You're coming to San Tropez. In 2003, P. Diddy rented the 181 feet Southern Cross in Santor. This luxury yacht boasts 7 deluxe cabins, a jacuzzi with gold fixtures, a gym, and a hydraulic launch pad for a helicopter. The incredible weekly cost, $400,000. It was like 3 or 4 levels. I mean, when he showed me the brochure, it looked like a penthouse apartment. Like, I was like, this actually floats on water. He is the Hugh Hefner of hip-hop parties. Puffy is definitely a party boy. When he goes out, he hits all the latest hot spots and will literally mix the drinks for you. He wants to make sure everyone has a great time. Puffy will buy dozens of bottles of the most expensive champagne and just walk around handing them out to patrons he doesn't even know. And when it comes to throwing parties, nobody does it like Puffy. You've never really partied until you've been to a Puff Daddy party, from the crystal flowing to the naked girls hanging from the ceiling. Because let's be real, y'all, Diddy has been known to non-consensually drug people at his parties for years now. Everyone knows this has been a regular occurrence at these batches, but nobody ever stopped him or called him out on doing it.